Hi, everyone. Welcome to Point of Purchase. I'll be your host today. My name is Melanie McCabe, and I'm a Client Success Manager at geekspeak Commerce. For those of you who don't know, geekspeak is an e-commerce services company that helps clients grow their online sales. This episode is a special one because it's our 10th time going live with POP. And we've got not one, but two of my coworkers joining me to chat about SEO from the e-com lens. But before we get into that, for those of you who are new, Point of Purchase, or POP, is a live web series presented by us at geekspeak. In each episode, we dive into topics about the retail and e-com ecosystems, everything from industry news to technology, best practices, business strategies, and more. We tap into our own experiences and bring in experts within the industry. Our topic for this one is driving force, how SEO impacts much more than traffic. So we know that driving traffic is one of the key goals of optimizing your web content for search, but from an e-commerce perspective, specifically, we know that optimized content has the power to improve the customer experience and lead those customers to making a purchase. So we're going to dig into that more throughout this episode. Joining me today is Katie Robert and Roger D'Souza, who work with me at geekspeak.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Katie, Roger, and I work together day in and day out, mostly in this new virtual format now, but looking forward to seeing you guys in person again in the office one day soon.
Yeah, we're usually a really collaborative group in the office. I miss seeing you guys and chatting with you every day. And I miss bothering Roger about SEO questions.
All right, let me do some quick intros for you two before I pass things over. So Katie is a client success manager like me at geekspeak. She has over 8 years of marketing experience and has been part of in-house and agency teams in both digital and traditional marketing capacities, helping to craft brand identity and build awareness while driving sales. Roger is geekspeak's search engine marketing manager and has more than a decade of experience in digital marketing space, specializing in SEO, pay-per-click advertising, social media marketing, content marketing, and web design. At geekspeak, Roger manages advertising campaigns for large-scale brands and small to medium-sized businesses. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for hosting, Mel.
Of course. Before we get started, please drop us a comment to let us know where you're watching from today, and feel free to ask any questions you might have for us throughout the show. We'll circle back to them at the end. So to kick things off, Roger, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and your SEO experience?
Sure. Hey everyone, my name's Roger D'Souza. I've been working in the digital marketing space for about 12 to 13 years now. Over the years, I've been involved in many website development and SEO projects in various roles, from auditing websites to doing research, building out strategies for SEO and project management as well. My interests are in all aspects of digital marketing, and my core expertise are in SEO, paid advertising, content marketing, Amazon advertising, and web analytics. I've been part of the geekspeak team for almost 5 years now, and I'm looking after advertising for our clients on various platforms like search engines, social media, and Amazon as well. And I'm involved in from strategy development to campaign management and reporting, basically involved in all parts of the process. I'm really happy to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to helping our audience learn about SEO and getting started with it. And thank you for having me on the show.
Awesome. Yes, Roger is our go-to for anything SEO, which is at the base of all of our projects. So we keep him pretty busy around here. And Katie, tell us more about your role at geekspeak and your marketing experience.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I've worked in marketing and communications for over 8 years in a really wide range of roles and organizations. So I've covered a lot of ground in terms of marketing strategy and tactics, but SEO is something that has always been at the core of every single role and project I've worked on, because it is such a crucial part of digital marketing. At GeekSpeak, as a client success manager, I manage all aspects of my clients' projects from start to finish. So I work with them to build out their vision for what their content is going to look like. And then I bring that to life with our team here at GeekSpeak. And SEO is always a core component of every single project that we work on, like you said, Mel.
You're right. An SEO component is involved in nearly every project as a digital marketing manager. So it's great to have you here for this one, for sure.
Great to be here.
All right, so let's dig into SEO. Let's start off with some fundamentals. Roger, can you tell us what is search engine optimization, particularly as it relates to your website or your online store?
Sure. So search engine optimization, commonly referred to as SEO, is the practice of making your website search engine friendly so it can be ranked higher on search engines like Google, Yahoo, or Bing for a given search query. As you probably know, the Google is the most popular search engine and has a market share of roughly 80 to 90%. So if your website is ranked in the top 5 positions for a given query on Google, it will be visible to roughly 70% of the users searching for that query. So that means a lot. So if a search query has about 10,000 or maybe 100,000 searches, 70% of them would be seeing your link. So that's a huge number in itself. Having said that, SEO is one of the most important marketing channels, and that should always be a priority in your digital marketing strategy.
Yeah, the benefits of good SEO can be pretty outstanding. Let's dig into this a little bit more to show our viewers why we should dedicate some time to this. Roger, why don't you carry on with this one?
Oh, sure. So visitors can come to your website from 3 basic sources. One, through paid advertising, 2, from search engines, and 3, if they know your website and they know about your brand, and they can just log into your website directly. The biggest benefit for SEO is revenue. As you're aware, SEO can drive a lot of traffic to your website, and the more visitors you get, better are the chances of you for selling your product or services. So, and that always ties into your revenue. So the biggest benefit obviously would be the revenue coming with the traffic. It also has a long-lasting impact. So if you compare that with advertising, you'll have to consistently invest in advertising in order to get the traffic. But with SEO, the traffic keeps coming as long as you consistently maintain your practices for search engines and SEO. And also I'd like to mention is that in almost 80% of the cases that I've seen over the past 5 to 6 years, compared to advertising traffic, organic traffic has better conversion and better click-through rates. And that is always beneficial for your business. And most importantly, it is cost effective in the long run compared to any other social media, any other search channel. I'd like to also mention a quick fact is that one of our clients is a large online store. 40% of the traffic comes through organic sources. And when I say 40%, that roughly amounts to 1 million visitors every month, not paid for. So that really adds, it can really add value to all your marketing channels. And if you include SEO, it can be really beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. So with a well-optimized store, organic traffic can make up almost half of the total traffic, and that's pretty substantial.
Definitely.
Okay, so now that we're visible in search engines like Google, how can we improve our listings appearance? Katie, can you take us through what SERPs are and how we can improve our appearance on them?
Yeah, for sure. So SERP stands for Search Engine Result Page. Basically, they are the pages that are displayed by search engines like Google in response to the queries that you type into a search bar. When you're optimizing for search, you want to make sure that you're customizing that information that comes up on search engine result pages, which you can do in the back end of your website. So this is what a standard SERP looks like. You can see the title, the description, and the site link. And these pieces of information are what provide searchers with those key details about your page. And they're also really important for search ranking. So you want to make sure that your title, description, and URL are all customized to serve both of these goals. So you want to write quality, accurate copy for your title and description that calls and entices the user to click on the page. But you also want to ensure that all 3 pieces contain the most relevant keywords applicable to your page or product or business. You can customize the way that your page shows up on SERPs even further with something called rich snippets. So rich snippets look like this. They're visually more appealing than standard search results, and they contain a lot of additional really valuable information. So you can add details like rating stars, product availability, and pricing. So it's a really great option for product display pages and direct-to-consumer sites. Rich snippets don't actually directly improve your SEO, but they definitely affect click-through rate, and that can in turn improve your SEO. Google local packs are another really great way to boost your visibility on SERPs, and they look like this. They appear on the first page of Google and feature local businesses that are applicable to your search query, and probably almost everyone has seen them before. So you'll often see them pop up as a result of searches that include the terms near me or specific locations in the search term, like if you're searching for something in Toronto. But they can also pop up if the query just has a lot of local relevance. As long as your business is listed with Google My Business, it's actually automatically available for local packs, but there are a few things that you can do to kind of optimize your listing. So first of all, you want to make sure that you filled out as much information as possible about your business. You want to verify your location through Google My Business page. It's great if you can add some really good quality photos to your business listing of your business or your storefront or interior. Another thing you want to make sure to do is keep your information up to date as things change, especially really important details like hours, which right now in the sort of time that we're in are changing constantly. And then finally, you want to make sure that you're responding to reviews, because Google's algorithm sees this as a sign that you are engaged with your business and your customers.
Of course. Thanks. That was a lot of info. So why don't we take a look at some examples of how SEO alters the way your website looks and ranks on search engine results pages. We're going to compare the presence of two websites, one optimized for search engines and another not optimized. Katie, can you walk us through these and explain where we see optimization failing and succeeding here?
Yeah, for sure. So let's take a look at this example that we pulled together. So we did a search for ice cream stores Toronto. You can see that in the top search bar there. There are a lot of competing blogs for this search, actually, which can be a really keyword-rich page type to compete against. But in this instance, one of the highest ranking pages other than those blogs is this business Summers ice cream. So we've done a little bit of selective cropping here just so we can show you kind of the most important elements. But you can see that they're one of the top ranking businesses and that they're landing on the first page of Google, which, as Roger mentioned, is crucial. They also have a complete and up-to-date local pack setup. You can see all of their details, hours, and address. They have a lot of reviews, which is great. They have up-to-date dine-in and takeout availability, likely for COVID. So they've probably been updating things as things change, which is great. A little bit down further on the page, you can see that their meta titles and descriptions are clean and optimized, calling out their location and top brand features. They're ranking for our keyword by using location and then the main product type words. So other than that, they're also making use of some rich snippets by linking their most popular pages at the bottom of the SERP. So this is likely increasing their click-through rate. So on the other hand, here is a competitor, the Big Chill. They're showing up well past the first page on page 7. So they're likely getting almost no traffic from this keyword. The meta title could definitely use some expansion and optimization. And you can see that they don't have any location-based information in their meta description. They're also not using any rich snippets, so they're not really taking advantage of those opportunities to sort of customize and increase their click-through rate. So all in all, this kind of shows how even small changes to these elements can make a really big difference in SEO and ranking, because kind of from a quick glance, they don't appear to be too different. But when we kind of dig in and do the research, we can see how these small changes have made a really significant impact on the first business's SEO.
Right. And I can't remember the last time I went to page 7 to find what I was looking for, or even page 2 for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Roger's stats kind of speak for themselves that the top 5 positions on Google are visible to about 70% of users searching for that query, which is huge.
The amount of control you can have on Google regarding how and where you're presented is probably one of the most exciting benefits of taking the time to enhance your site's SEO.
For sure.
So let's narrow our focus on e-commerce because we know that SEO is incredibly important in this space. Roger, can you tell us how SEO for a direct-to-consumer store differs from SEO for, say, an informational or branding website?
Sure. So the basics of SEO remains same for any website, whether it's an online store, e-commerce brand, or a simple brand website. The strategy and the level of difficulty depend on the size of the website, the products or service you offer, and the industry you're in. But there are a couple of things that are very important for an online store or an e-commerce website, which directly impact conversions. These are product titles, product descriptions, the bullet points that come along with it, and images as well. I would like to focus more on images as they are the only way users can get a sense of the product compared to the traditional way of shopping. So images really play an important role. Besides that, there are 2 parts to SEO. One is on page and one is off page. On page SEO are all the factors you can control on your website. Let's say keyword optimization is probably the most important one. Having keywords in your copy and having the right keywords is really important. Secondly, you can improve page speed, which is a very big factor on Google especially, and it helps with the user experience. And next on the list would be quality and quantity of the content, website architecture, taxonomy, URL structure. They're all very important and they all are part of the user experience. One thing I'd like to add is that over the past few years, the mobile searches are increasing rapidly. Almost 60% of all searches on Google are coming from mobile devices. But that doesn't mean you only need to focus on your mobile website. You need to focus on all screens irrespective, because you can never tell where the user is coming on your website from, which screen they're coming from. So that's important as well. One thing about design I like to mention is that even though the design of your website does not really impact SEO as such, but it has a huge impact on user experience. So if your website is well designed, users will tend to engage with it a lot better. And if all the communication is in flow, it leads to better engagement overall. So those were the main elements of on page. Off page, on the other hand, is basically building links on other websites that link back to your website, which is commonly referred as backlinks. So a backlink is basically a vote from an external source for your website, and search engines in particular take that as a huge impacting factor for search engine ranking. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is your natural links, and second is a manual link building. So manual links are basically anywhere where you can put your website's information. Think of it as a business directory for your industry where you can add all your information about your brand, about your website, and that's where you get a backlink from. And that's a manual approach. Even though it would be considered as a backlink, a natural link is much more preferred. And Google considers that, which has a very big impact on your search engine ranking. So a natural link could be any external source linking back to your website. Let's say, for example, a news website links back to your blog, and that would really have a huge impact on your search engine ranking. The most important part of SEO in general is the content. And the content that falls into the EAT model generally gets the most backlinks and traffic. So EAT stands for expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. So that's where you want to really focus on. Get your content in your website up to par so you can speak as an authority on a particular topic. And that's what gets you the most backlinks. For a large website that has 1,000 of different pages, that translates to 1,000 of different topics and keywords that you can talk about that people could be searching for. So the more pages you have on your website equals to more opportunities to get ranked for that particular keyword. Mm-hmm. But if your website is a small business website or it just has one product, for example, then you need to find creative ways to get the word out. This is where blogs come in very handy, especially for small websites to add more content to the web to their websites, targeting different keywords so that they can link back to their base keyword. A good example would be a shoe brand writing an article on a sports player. Even though it's not directly related to the product, but it has an indirect impact, and that really helps.
Right. So, for example, having a well-established blog, say Blog TO, linking to your Toronto ice cream store would be an amazing example of off-page SEO.
Definitely, definitely.
And then our recommendation for businesses with just one product or service type would be to build out more opportunities for on-page SEO by creating additional pages, blogs, resource centers, and things like that.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so I want to switch over to another main benefit to SEO, which is improving customer experience. Katie, can you take us through how SEO can create a user-friendly experience?
Yeah, so a lot of people think of SEO as strictly a way to improve traffic, but it can absolutely help improve your customer experience as well. And they kind of go hand in hand. So the first way it can help improve customer experience is basically, sorry, at the core of its purpose, which is providing users with what they're looking for. When your page is optimized to rank for the queries that your potential customer is looking for, you're helping them find what they need and solve a problem. Interlinking is another way to improve both SEO and customer experience. So Roger talked a little bit about link building, and this is sort of a bit of a different tactic or approach, but interlinks are links on your pages that connect users to other relevant pages within your website. And this not only helps boost SEO, but it can also help your customer navigate to other useful or helpful or relevant content or products within your site. Roger touched on a couple of these, but site speed is another tactic that's a cornerstone for both SEO and user experience. An optimized site speed can significantly improve your search ranking. And on the other side, a slow site speed can definitely negatively affect your ranking as well. Site speeds are also crucial to user experience. We've all used websites that have poor loading times, and that frustration is immediate. We tend to abandon slow loading sites very quickly. And the expectation now is nothing less than a very, very fast and responsive site speed and page load time. Mm-hmm. Another way that these two pieces work together is mobile-friendly design. So Roger touched on this as well. The vast majority of search queries handled by Google are done on mobile, and Google favors mobile-friendly design. Because people are likely to visit your website on mobile, it's really critically important that your website is optimized for mobile, including minimizing scrolling, responsive content that adjusts to fit depending on the device that you're using, and again, a really fast loading time. Next, you want to make sure that your site is secure, because Google favors secure sites. And from a customer experience perspective, you definitely want to ensure that your site has an SSL certificate, because it promotes trust in your brand and website. And it also can help increase conversions, specifically on e-commerce sites. Finally, one of the most important ways to boost both SEO and customer experience is content. Content is really at the core of what we do here at GeekSpeak. So we see every day how great content impacts our customers' website traffic, their click-through rate, their search engine ranking, and then most importantly, obviously, conversions. Well-optimized content that's been properly enriched with keywords helps boost your search ranking, but it's also crucial for a great customer experience, because you want to make sure that when they do land on your site, they find what they're looking for. Aside from content, you also want to make sure that your navigation is clear and clean, your design is updated and fresh, and the ability to find content or products is quick and easy. An important kind of side note here is that this is where established platforms like Shopify or WooCommerce can give you a leg up, because they have so many of these elements already built in. So for example, Shopify has existing safety certificates. They have processes implemented to ensure that your site speed is optimized. And there are preset templates that you can use that help to organize your navigation in a logical and customer-friendly way. So all of these tactics help to improve your SEO, but they also help to boost your customer experience, and they can help reduce your bounce rate.
Mm-hmm. And I know it's great to have your site up and running, but if it doesn't load quickly or it's glitchy on mobile, it'll really distract from any useful content on there.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where these platforms can really be a huge support to businesses, especially ones that don't have the capacity to develop something from the ground up. They can get up and running really fast on a platform like Shopify.
Hmm. So we talked about bounce rate. Roger, can you elaborate a bit more on the bounce rate and why we want to keep it low?
Sure. So bounce rate is the percentage of users that log on to your website and bounce off quickly without engaging with the website. So it could be either they click the back button and go back to where they came from, or they can just close the browser tab altogether. It could be for any reason, whether the website did not load on time, it didn't find the right information, or a number of things. If the bounce rate is high, it's an indicator to search engines that the information on the website is of poor quality, or it's not the right information altogether. So eventually, the ranks will get affected, and you will lose ranks, and your ranking will fall. As a general rule, a bounce rate is of up to 40% is considered acceptable. Uh,
Mhm.
Anything above that would need your attention. Anything below that is awesome, and you want to be in that range. It tells that the users are definitely engaging with your content and on your website. So 40%, even though it sounds a lot, but that is the general rule that all optimizers follow. So
Yeah.
anything below that, you want to be there.
Yeah, and it's super helpful to have that benchmark in the back of your mind. So the longer your site is up and running with poor customer experience, the higher your bounce rate will become, and that tells Google to push your result further and further down the list.
Yes, exactly that.
So let's talk about how this all comes together to affect the most important part of e-commerce, which is the conversion rate. Katie, can you talk about how SEO can work to increase our sales?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to a few of the customer experience points that I was speaking to earlier, but well-optimized content and functionality both contribute to search engine optimization as well as a great customer experience, which in turn affects your conversion rate. So on direct-to-consumer or DTC websites, this means an optimized shopping experience. When a DTC website is properly optimized, first of all, a shopper can find your products on Google or through an integrated search function. Then when they land on your site, it's clean and well organized and it loads quickly. It also features quality content that's optimized for search and also provides users with all the information they need to make an informed purchase. And then finally, it's secure and safe for e-commerce transactions. So all of these elements are driven by SEO, but they also help to increase and drive conversions.
Yeah, the goal really is to review your site as a user and create pathways to purchase or to find vital info. Websites can actually be quite strategic while looking super simple on the front end.
Yeah, absolutely. And likely kind of the most simple and user-friendly websites are the ones where you don't have to think, right? You just navigate through it naturally without having to pay too much attention and put effort into browsing.
And we call that making your website intuitive. So if you wouldn't know to go to this button, if you wouldn't know to check that tab for whatever you need, then it's not intuitive to the user.
Absolutely.
Roger, let's talk about best practices specific to e-com and how can someone get started today?
Sure. So on page is really important to begin with. If your website is not user friendly, it will be very difficult for you to rank higher on search engines. One thing that I've seen more often is that any new website that is launched, they do not track their users. By tracking, I mean there are different softwares that you use to understand, to get insights of how users engage with your website. So some of the tools that we use is Google Analytics, Search Console. They give you a lot of insights that you can use to improve the user experience overall. And it also gives you important metrics as to how many users log on to your website, how long they stay, what's the bounce rate, and all that good insights that will help you make help you make proper decisions for your SEO strategy. Like I have, Katie has mentioned this earlier, and I've touched a bit on it. User experience is probably something that you really need to consider as you start off. Website speed is really important, architecture, and the design. So a good user experience will definitely allow you to improve your search engine ranking in the long run. So, but it is one of the foundations that you need to build right. One of the most important factors is keyword and content optimizations, whether it's in your titles, in your URLs, on-page copy, along with images or video.
Mhm.
Keywords are probably the only way where search engines can identify what the content is and what it talks about. So keyword optimization is really important. So that's your starting point as always. And this is a more general rule, but a lot of the business really forget about that. And this is probably something that I did back in the day when I was starting off in digital marketing. Is people then we don't focus on the end user. We just focus on building the website good so that search engines can rank our website. We just ignore the users altogether. This is a mistake. What we need to do is always keep the focus on the end user and provide value to them. If the end user is happy and happy with the value you provide to them, they will continue to keep coming and trusting your website. So as a starting point, focusing on the end user is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be a balance there. And those are some really great tips. Okay, so let's talk a bit about implementation. So many of us may know the fundamentals of SEO, but are missing that practical advice. So Roger, can you walk us through the steps and process that you follow typically to use SEO to increase organic traffic and qualified leads?
Sure, of course. So my process or our process in general is basically to research for any project that we begin with. There's a lot of research done from the customers, what is the target audience, the competitors, and keywords, obviously. So one thing that what we like to do is focus on what the competitors are already doing and what is already out there. So you're not repeating what they have already done. You want to add value to the end user. So looking at competitors gives you a better idea of what should you do and how to improve upon that. So that's that's a really good starting point, and that's what we focus on is doing our research. Secondly, fixing your website. User experience should not be compromised. So we take a good look at what the website is and what it could be, and make the right changes so that when we are optimizing the website, the traffic that comes to it are happy with the website and they're more engaged with it, which leads to focusing on the engagement part. If what some optimizers probably the mistake that they do is they focus on the search engine traffic rather than focusing on the engagement of your visitors that are already there. You're better off having a 10% conversion rate from 100 users, whereas 10 conversions from 1000 users. So you want to make sure that you focus on the engagement. And the best part about that is eventually in the long run, because of your focusing on your engagement, the traffic will continue to keep rising because people will start trusting your brand as well. So there's that component to it. One thing what I like to focus on, and I mentioned it earlier, is you need to track everything you can. Like I mentioned, the Google Analytics tools, Google Search Console, these are free softwares that you can use to track track insights that will help you optimize your website in the future. Without tracking the right metrics, you will not learn and you will not be able to apply changes to your website that will help you improve. So that's one thing. A lot of search engine optimizers, what they do is they experiment with multiple variables. The problem with that is you cannot tell what's working and what's not when you have different variables that have been changed. I like to add an example of back in the day when we were launching a website. Just the color of the button, this call to action, we just changed that, and the conversions improved just because of that. So that's really important, and we track that. So whenever you're experimenting, pick one variable, learn from it, and then apply it across your website. You don't need to make huge changes on your website. Just one small variable will be enough. So it can help you make better decisions. And like I've mentioned earlier, content marketing using the EAT model, expert, authoritative, and trustworthy. You want to keep that in mind always. Good quality content consistently will never fail, and it will always help your search engine rankings go. And a part of that is social media integration. Building a community around your website and your brand is really important, and social media websites like Facebook and others, Twitters, helps you do that properly. And having that immediate customer or fan base allows you to test your content, see what's working and what's not, and you can replicate that in the future. So that's really important as well. As far as improving lead quality, I think I touched base on this, but experimenting with variables and learning, and that's the only way to improve the quality of your leads that you get to your website, or a conversion for that matter. Pick up a variable, test your experiment and see how it goes, and then if it's working, you can amplify that across your website, and I'm sure that you will get a huge advantage out of it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we've gone through some great SEO strategies for DTC websites, but let's talk about SEO on retailer sites and marketplaces. SEO is crucial to compete on these sites. Katie, can you tell us a bit about the process of optimizing on marketplaces?
Yeah, so when we talk about retailer or marketplace sites, we're talking about sites like Amazon, Etsy, Best Buy, Walmart, and SEO is so crucial on these platforms because you are competing with so many other sellers and products. So you need to make sure that your product listing is expertly optimized in order to be competitive. So the first step to properly optimizing for the platform that you're selling on is to complete your research for that platform if possible. It can be a bit challenging on retailer sites because we don't always have that data. They keep it pretty locked down. But on marketplace platforms like Amazon, you can actually pull specific and accurate search result data that is specific to Amazon. So then you want to take that data and implement it in order of importance into your title, your bullets, your long description, back-end keywords, just depending on what's available to you on the platform that you're using. And this is where customer experience comes into play again, and it works together with SEO, because as much as you want to ensure that your product page is keyword rich, it's also important that your content is consumer friendly and that it provides shoppers with the information that they need and in a form that they can digest.
That's right. And I know from experience how important it is to your rankings to follow marketplace content guidelines and to max out all possible fields. Marketplace specific keyword research will also give you a huge boost for sure.
Yeah, and there are a lot of free platforms that you can actually use to gather this research as well. So it doesn't have to be something that you, invest a lot of money in. As a small business, this is something that you can easily access for free.
Yeah. So, Katie, as a client success manager, when should a business reach out to a specialist to get help with SEO? And what types of clients do you see that benefit the most?
Yeah, we provide SEO and SEM services to a really wide range of businesses. I'm sure Roger could tell you that he sees, all different sizes and types of business. And SEO is really at the core of all the projects that we work on. We make sure that every piece of content that we develop is not only expertly written, but it's also optimized for search because we know how critical that is. Ultimately, any business, really, regardless of size, that's looking to boost their organic search rankings, optimize their content, and sell more online can really benefit from our in-house experts, being Roger, and content services.
Right. Okay, thank you both so much. Before we wrap up and move on to some viewer questions, we had a couple come in. I always like to ask a fun question before we go. So, Roger, what was the last thing you purchased online? And as a specialist, what made you decide to buy it?
Sure. So recently I purchased a vacuum cleaner. Besides the product title and the description of the product, which were all very well laid out, I will have to say the images were the deciding factor. Which reminds me that if you have an online store, images play a huge role in conversion and also in SEO. So make sure you have good quality images of your products, not only improve conversion, and it also helps SEO as search engines pick up these images, and it helps your overall SEO strategy as well.
Yeah, in terms of SEO, there's really so much to it, and it can feel like we just scratched the surface. But having a full set of images in your gallery, including product angles, infographics, and lifestyles, will allow the user to gain info through visuals, which is huge for user experience. We just really don't like to read these days.
Definitely.
All right, Katie, same question to you.
I bought some toddler clothes actually from a site that I had never purchased from before. I did find them through an organic search result and clicked through to the website actually from a rich snippet. Once I arrived on the page, though, the interlinks and navigation and enriched content really helped push me to convert. So it was a really great example of how their successful search engine optimization got me to their site. But those other customer experience points that we talked about is really what pushed me and made me feel comfortable to convert.
Yeah, browsing is huge, and making your website a fun place to be on will go a long way.
For sure.
Okay, so we have a question from a viewer. How do I do keyword research, and what kind of tools are out there to help? Katie, I'll pass this one over to you.
Sure. Yeah. So based on your platform, you want to find the right tool. So we did touch on this before, but for example, for Google-based searches, it's really best to use Google Keyword Planner, and Google Keyword Planner can be used for a lot of different platforms. And then, like I mentioned, you can use a tool like keywordtool.io for Amazon or marketplace searches. From there, you start with a small initial set of keywords that you probably already know just based on your knowledge of the product and your business. These will likely be kind of the product category. So for example, like DSLR camera. So you can use those as seed keywords to get other keyword ideas for things that you maybe aren't thinking of. And then from there, you want to create a list and check the search volume on that list and then rank them in order of volume. The only thing to keep in mind is that you want to find a balance between volume, but also relevance, because even though a keyword might not have the highest volume on your list, if it's highly relevant to your product, it's probably more valuable to you, and it's also probably more likely to convert.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You don't want to pick all of these high volume keywords and then get lost in the weeds, because guess what? Everyone is doing that too.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
So yeah, relevance is definitely, just as important as volume, for sure. Okay, one more viewer question. So if I make all of these changes, how long does it take for Google or other search engines to re-rank my website? This is a good one. I'm going to pass this one over to you, Roger.
Sure. So it depends on how often your website is being indexed, but there are certain things that you can do to ping search engines to come and index your website or see the changes that you have made. So one of the things is that you can do is with Google Search Console is you can update your sitemap and upload that on Google Search Console to let the search engines know to come and visit your website because there are changes being made. So this is your go-to. But even if you don't do that, search engines will eventually pick it up. But it may vary from 2 weeks or maybe a month before they index your website with the new changes.
Got it. Okay, good to know. So thanks again, everyone, for watching this episode of POP. If you're watching the recording on social media and want to leave any feedback or ask any additional questions, we'll be sure to answer them for you. If you're interested in learning more about GeekSpeak Commerce, be sure to check us out at geekspeakcommerce.com. Follow us on social media and keep an eye out for our next episode. Have a great day, everyone. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.